Hello there, and welcome to FantasyFanatics.com. I'm lead expert Rob Shaw. Let's talk a little baseball. And the game I want to talk about today, Texas Rangers against the Cleveland Indians. Now let's take a look at that score, 2-1 in 10 innings. Well, that tells you this. There had to be some pretty good pitching in this game. And that's where we're going to start of the three keys I want to point out. Great performance once again by Sabathia. 7 innings, 1 earned run, only 2 walks, only 5 hits, and 5 strikeouts. Stellar performance. It's a shame he didn't get the win. But let's take a closer look at what he's been doing lately. Coming into this game, past 3 starts, all sensational. 7 innings, 1 run, 9 strikeouts. 9 innings, 11 strikeouts, complete game shutout. 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts. Those are great numbers. Those are numbers that look a lot like last year's numbers, when he went 19-7, had over 200 Ks, 3.21 ERA, and best of all, a 1.14 whip. This is a guy who's got great control, and he's starting to show it. Yes, he got off to a bad start this season. At one point, his ERA was 13.5, and even the beginning of May, 7.51. But the most recent 4 starts now have his ERA at 4.74, a much better number. And as far as all of that concern about this big number from last year, 241 innings pitched, not even counting the amount of innings he threw in the postseason, well, I don't think it's something you have to really worry about. This is a guy who's been known as a little bit of an innings eater. He's a southpaw, but most of all, he's 27 years old. He's in his prime. It seems like so far he could handle the bulk of the innings, and this is a guy I want to have on my team. I don't think this is just a trend. I think this is legit, and I think that it's going to continue for the remainder of the season. Now let's talk a little bit on the offensive side, and let's go to the Texas Rangers. They are one of the best offenses in the major leagues. The guy I want to talk about is Kinsler. Hit a 6th home run of the season, a solo shot off of Sabathia. Unfortunately, there'll be a lot of solo shots this year for him. He's batting leadoff. Now, the numbers have been sensational. In fact, I don't think people realize how good this young talent actually is. Last year, 20 home runs, 23 stolen bases, 263 average. Did you notice that this happened missing 32 games? That's 20% of the season. He would have been on par to get about 25 home runs, about 30 stolen bases. Think of that. Now let's take a look at what he's projected for this year. 5 home runs, well 6 now. He's on pace for about 22, 23 home runs. His RBI total, he's on pace for about 80, 90 RBIs. He's on pace for about 140 runs, and he's on pace for about 50 stolen bases. Now I don't think that all of that's going to actually happen. I do buy into the power. I do think he's going to get 25 home runs. As far as the speed, maybe not 50 stolen bases, but he might reasonably get 35 to 40. Considering he hasn't been caught so far, chances are they're going to give him the green light. Now, what impresses me most about him, those runs. 40 runs so far, that is unbelievable. That is the same thing that Josh Hamilton's doing in RBIs. I think that it's very reasonable for this guy to get at least 120 runs. So think of that, 120 plus runs, 25 home runs, and 35 steals from a second baseman. That is huge. That is right up there with Chase Utley. I think that this is a guy who's underappreciated right now. You have got to get him. Do what you got to do to try to sneak a trade to get Kinsler on your team. Finally, we're going to talk about a player going in the opposite direction, and that is on the Cleveland Indians' designated hitter, Travis Hafner. Well, maybe it should be designated struggler, because that's been the story so far this year. He just lifted his average up to 217, but look at the last couple of years. 42 home runs, 117 RBIs, 308. Well, that explains why last year he was probably a first or second round fantasy pick, and what a shame for those who drafted him. 24 home runs, a cut of 17 RBIs, and a cut of 40 from his average. Well, this year, it's gotten even worse. A cut of 52 entering yesterday. A cut of 20 home runs. He's just been a disgrace so far. Now, I do not think that you should cut him yet. The fact is that his ceiling is still way too high. I remember a couple of years ago, Jim Thome on the Philadelphia Phillies got off to a slump. What happened? People cut him. People pick him up. He ends up having a huge second half. That's what I'm afraid of right now for Hafner. Do not cut him. At the same time, don't let him punish your roster. Keep him on the bench. Maybe put in a Milton Bradley. Maybe put in a David Murphy. Maybe put in a Frank Thomas. Someone who could take care of the first base or utility position for your team and put up some decent numbers, while Travis Hafner hopefully gets out of this funk.